Standard 9 CBSE Board Chapter 2 A Dog Named Duke by William D. Ellis. In 1953, Hooper was a favored young man. A big, genuine grin civilized his highly competitive nature. Standing 6'1", he played on the university football team. He was already a hard-charging zone sales manager for a chemical company. Everything was going for him. Then, when he was driving home one autumn twilight, a car pulled out in front of him without warning. Hooper was taken to the hospital with a subdural hemorrhage in the motor section of the brain, completely paralyzing his left side. One of Chuck's district managers drove Marcy to the hospital. Her husband couldn't talk. He could only breathe and see, and his vision was double. Marcy phoned a neighbor, asking him to put Duke in a kennel. Hooper remained on the critical list for a month. After the 5th week, some men from his company came to the hospital and told Hooper to take a year off. They would create a desk job for him at headquarters. About 6 weeks after the accident, the hospital put him in a wheelchair. Every day there was someone working his paralyzed arm and leg, followed by bath, exercise, a wheeled walker. But Chucker didn't make much headway. In March, they let him out of the hospital. After the excitement of the homecoming wore off, Chuck hit a new low. At the hospital, there had been other injured people, but now, every morning, when Marcy quietly went to work, it was a gate slamming down. Duke was still in the kennel, and Chuck was alone with his thoughts. Finally, they decided to bring Duke home. Chuck said he wanted to be standing when Duke came in, so they stood him up. Duke's nails were long from 4 months' confinement, and when he spied Chuck, he stood quivering like 5,000 volts. Then he let out a bellow, spun his long-nailed wheels, and lunged himself across 3 meters of air. He was a 23-kilo missile of joy. He hit Chuck above the belt, causing him to fight to keep his balance. Those who saw it said the dog knew instantly. He never jumped on Chuck again. From that moment, he took up a post beside his master's bed round the clock. But even Duke's presence didn't reach Chuck. The once iron muscles slacked on the rangy frame. Secretly, Marcy cried as she watched the big man's grin fade away. Severe face lines set in like cement as Chuck stared at the ceiling for hours, then out of the window, then at Duke. When two fellows stare at each other day in, day out, and one can't move and the other can't talk, boredom sets in. Duke finally couldn't take it. From a motionless coil on the floor, he'd spring to his feet, quivering with impatience. "Yeah, rough. Lie down, Duke." Duke stalked to the bed, poked his pointed nose under Chuck's elbow, and lifted. He nudged and needled and snorted. "Go run around the house, Duke." But Duke wouldn't. He'd lie down with a reproachful eye on Hooper. An hour later, he would come over to the bed again and yap and poke. He wouldn't leave, just sit there. One evening, Chuck's good hand idly hooked the leash onto Duke's collar to hold him still. It was like lighting a fuse. Duke shimmied himself U-shaped in anticipation. Even Hooper can't explain his next move. He asked Marcy to help him to his feet. Duke pranced. Chuck fought for balance. With his good hand, he placed the leash in his left and folded the paralyzed fingers over it, holding them there. Then he leaned forward. With Marcy supporting him by the elbow, he moved his right leg out in front. Straightening his right leg caused the left foot to drag forward, alongside the right. It could be called a step. Duke felt the sudden slack in the leash and pulled it taut. Chuck swayed forward again, broke the fall with a good right leg, then straightened. Thrice he did that, then collapsed into the wheelchair, exhausted. Next day, the big dog started early. He charged around to Hooper's good side, jabbed his nose under the elbow, and snapped his head up. The big man's good arm reached for the leash. With Hooper standing, the dog walked to the end of the leash and tugged steadily. 4 so-called steps they took that day. Leaning back against the pull, Hooper learned to keep his balance without Marcy at his elbow. Wednesday, he and Duke took 5 steps. Thursday, 6 steps. Friday, failure. 2 steps followed by exhaustion. But in 2 weeks, they reached the front porch. By mid-April, neighbors saw a daily struggle in front of Marcy's house. Out on the sidewalk, they saw the dog pull his leash taut, then stand and wait. The man would drag himself abreast of the dog, then the dog would search out to the end of the leash and wait again. The pair set daily goals. Monday, the 6th fence post. Tuesday, the 7th fence post. Wednesday. When Marcy saw what Duke could do for her husband, she told the doctor, who prescribed a course of physiotherapy with weights, pulleys, and whirlpool baths, and above all, walking every day with Duke on a limited, gradual scale. By now, neighbors on their street were watching the pattern of progress. On June 1st, news spread that Hooper and Duke had made it to an intersection quite far away. Soon Duke began campaigning for 2 trips a day and then lend in the targets, one driveway at a time. Duke no longer waited at each step. On January 4th, Hooper made his big move. Without Duke, he walked the 20 meters from the clinic to the local branch office of his company. This had been one of the district office under his jurisdiction as zone manager. The staff was amazed by the visit. But to Gordon Duell, the manager, Chuck said, Gordon, this isn't just a visit. Bring me up to date on what's happened. Will you, so I can get back to work? Duell gaped. It'll just be an hour a day for a while, Hooper continued. I'll use that empty desk in the warehouse, and I'll need a dictating machine. Back in the company's headquarters, Chuck's move presented problems, tough ones. When a man fights that hard for a comeback, who wants to tell him he can't handle his old job? On the other hand, what can you do with a salesman who can't move around and can work only an hour a day? They didn't know that Hooper had already set his next objective, March 1st, a full day's work. Chuck hit the target, and after March 1st, there was no time for the physiotherapy program. He turned completely to Duke, who pulled him along the street faster and faster, increasing his stability and endurance. Sometimes, walking after dark, Hooper would trip and fall. Duke would stand still. Chuck hit the target, and after March 1st, there was no time for the physiotherapy program. He turned completely to Duke, who pulled him along the street faster and faster, increasing his stability and endurance. Sometimes, walking after dark, Hooper would trip and fall. Duke would stand still as a post while his master struggled to get up. It was as though the dog knew that his job was to get Chuck back on his feet. 13 months from the moment he worked full days, Chuck Hooper was promoted to regional manager, covering more than 4 states. Chuck, Marcy, and Duke moved house in March 1956. The people in the new suburb where the Hoopers bought a house didn't know the story of Chuck and Duke. All they knew was that their new neighbor walked like a struggling mechanical giant, and that he was always pulled by a rampacious dog that acted as if he owned the man. On the evening of October 12, 1957, the Hoopers had guests. Suddenly, over the babble of voices, Chuck heard the screech of brakes outside. Instinctively, he looked for Duke. They carried the big dog into the house. Marcy took one look at Duke's breathing, at his brown eyes with the stubbornness gone. "Phone the vet," she said. "Tell him I'm bringing Duke." Several people jumped to lift the dog. "No, please," she said. And she picked up the big dog, carried him gently to the car, and drove him to the animal hospital. Duke was drugged, and he made it until 11 o'clock the next morning. But his injuries were too severe. People who knew the distance Chuck and Duke had come together, one fence post at a time, now watched the big man walk alone day after day. They wondered, how long will he keep it up? How far will he go today? Can he go it alone? A few weeks ago, worded as if in special tribute to Duke, an order came through from the chemical company's headquarters. Therefore, to advance our objectives step by step, Charles Hooper is appointed Assistant National Sales Manager.
Choose the right kindergarten, a right bag, and matching bottle to go with. The right school, the right friends. Choose the right subjects and score well. Be an expert in all. The right teacher, and make sure that they like you. Choose the right timing, the right bus, and take a cab if getting late. The right train, and don't stand near the gates. Mind the pockets. Better get into ladies' compartment. Make sure your mustache hasn't started coming. Choose the right study time and forget games. IPL, IHL, rock and metal, guitar, axe. The right group and be a model to your brother. Seriously. Choose the right syllabus, the right test paper. Keep guessing questions for exams. Choose the right branch, the right college, the right stream. Choose the right career. Lucky to have a father's business to take care of and a father to allow that. The right counselor, the right form, and make sure the project is submitted on time. Choose the right website and rely on your friends for more information. Oblivious of the sites they have been to, there is no end to your woes. Getting better with every step you climb up the ladder. The summer vacation shorter, the bucket list bigger. The night darker, the books heavier. The only light you have is your friends ahead of you. Probably he is right. Ever thought how he got the direction? No more spending your energy and money on coaching classes. No more missing classes for rain, rally, and nonsense. Get your interest back in subjects through our creative ways of teaching. Doubts, concepts, applications, all explained through one vibrant animation. Subjects covered by multiple teachers with repeat telecasts. Special programs only for basic foundation and paper analysis. Personality development, career counseling, admissions, hobbies, all covered. A new approach to study with long-term perspective. So sit back comfortably in your homes and watch Study Spectrum TV channel.
Welcome to Study Spectrum. We will study today chapter 2 of Standard 9 CBSE, A Dog Named Duke, written by William D. Ellis. It is the story of a person named Charles Hooper. Now it seems as if the author has witnessed what he is narrating to us. It's as if he has known Charles Hooper and the ordeal that he went through. Charles Hooper was a very hale and hearty, healthy fellow. He had a wife named Marcy. He had a dog named Duke. The dog is a breed of Doberman Pinscher. His wife would have preferred a Pomeranian, but this is what Charles brought home, and in the due course of time, the wife also started having a relationship with the dog. Otherwise, she was never polite to him. And Charles Hooper used to play in the football university team. So the author is telling us that he is very fit. He was the zone sales manager at a chemical company. Now it happened so that one evening when he was leaving from his office, when Charles Hooper was leaving from his office, a car came from nowhere and Charles Hooper meets with an accident. Of course, he is rushed to the hospital and he is detected with subdural hemorrhage, which is a clot in the brain due to which his entire left side gets paralyzed. They say that one of the district managers brought his wife also home, but his state was very critical. He was in the ICU for an entire month. Now this was a very difficult time for Marcy. So in abroad, they have this system wherein Marcy called up her neighbor and she told the neighbor to put the dog in a kennel. Now what we understand by kennel is a dog's house that is perhaps outside our own house in the yard. But here when she calls up the neighbor and says put the dog in a kennel, kennel is a facility wherein various dogs are left by the owners when they are unavailable to take care of their pet. So for example, if they are going out of station, here because her husband is in hospital and he has been put in the ICU for over a month, so she calls up her neighbor and tells him to take Duke to the kennel. So he is put away and he'll be taken care of. Now the wife is dealing with her husband's illness, and once he's out of the ICU, he's still not able to walk. So there's a lot of physiotherapy that follows day in and day out, and the office tells Charles Hooper to take a year's off, that he should rest for a year, perhaps recuperate, and then he can come back to his job. These are the ways it is abroad. So one fine day when he is able to have partial movement of the right side, not left side, then the hospital discharged him and Marcy and Charles Hooper came back home. Now of course Marcy takes up a job because now she has to run the house, and Charles Hooper lays at home the whole day and he is getting into a state of depression. He keeps staring at the ceiling wall, lying on the bed, doing nothing. And when Marcy goes to work, the shutting of that door, the author has described very well, that when that door shuts, although Marcy is very careful to very silently and sweetly say bye to him and shut the door and go, but it's like a slamming of the door for Charles Hooper. because of course as a man somewhere his ego is getting hurt, that he is here bedridden, ill, unable to move. He has become a huge burden on his wife. The wife has to completely take care of him as well as go to work and run the house. So at this point, Marcy takes a decision that Duke should be brought back home. Although it will be more work for her, but perhaps Duke will be good for Charles Hooper because he is the pet, so he will prevent him from going into a depression. So Duke comes back home. After 4 months staying in the kennel, Duke comes back home. Now when this is a huge dog, so as a pet, when he comes back home, what he is used to do is jumping on his owner, jumping on his master with love. So that is exactly what he does. Now, because Duke is coming home, with the help of Marcy, Charles Hooper stands up. And the author is also there. William D. Ellis is also there witnessing this scene. And Duke has come back home after 4 months. And he pounces on top of Charles Hooper just like he used to. Because he is not aware that something has happened to his master. But when he charges onto Charles Hooper kind of loses his balance, and the author says those who witnessed this scene, this dog coming to the master, the dog knew immediately. Animals we know are sensitive, but here they have shown Duke as a very sensitive, sensible dog, because the author says that immediately it knew that something is wrong with my master, he is not well, because after that day Duke was very gentle with his master. He never again tried to jump on top of him like he used to. Anyway, so Duke has come home, the same routine follows again. Marcy starts going to work, Charles Hooper is on his bed, and the dog now, earlier he used to keep roaming around the house full of activity, but now he used to on a daily basis sit next to Charles Hooper's bed throughout the day, throughout the night, as if he is taking care of him, as if he has completely sensed that my master needs me. So this is the scene. Now one day when Duke, the dog, all got up with activity and come on, let's do something, because he is not in a state of depression. So let's do something. When he's urging and nudging his master, he puts his nose under his elbow trying to nudge him. Come on, get up, let's go. Charles Hooper is in no mood of interacting with the dog. And in an attempt to silence the dog, what Hooper did is he took the leash. The leash is the rope that is tied around the neck of a pet dog. So he took the leash and he put it in his left hand, and he, with the help of his right hand, wrapped the finger around the leash and tried to tighten it so that he can shoo him, because he had already said, go take a round around the house, don't disturb me. But Duke was full of activity, so he wanted to calm him down, and that's why he did this. But when he did this, what Duke understood is that my master is ready to take me for a walk, and he immediately pounced on his he absolutely stood up and he shook his body in a U-turn manner, as if he's all ready to go for a walk. Now this is what the dog felt. Now the author says that what followed, even Charles Hooper is not able to explain what happened, because what Charles Hooper did at that time is something that absolutely unfathomable. What he did is he asked Marcy to make him stand up, and he stood up, Marcy holding his elbow, and the dog walked ahead, so his leash became tight. Charles Hooper took his right step forward and dragged his left foot up till the right foot. So what has happened at that moment is Charles Hooper has walked one step. This paralyzed man has taken a step. Now this is a huge milestone, because then on, that day onwards, they used to do this every day, just one step. They used to take one step. This they did for 4 days. On the 5th day, he was not able to take even a single step, he sat down out of exhaustion. And but yet the next day, one step, then two steps, then four steps. So like this, very slowly and steadily, Charles Hooper, with the help of his dog Duke, is as if learning to walk again. Now Marcy also notices what is happening here. It's as if what Duke is doing for his master. She approaches the doctor, she discusses with him, and the doctor says, "This is good, let it continue." Along with the physiotherapy, this is also like a physiotherapy, so let it continue, facilitate it. So Marcy has got the go from the doctor also, and they start this on a daily basis. The author says one fence post at a time. Now what is a fence post? Abroad they have these bungalow sort of things which have a yard like a garden, and then around the garden they have a fencing, and the fences are at a distance of say half a meter. So one fence post at a time. So from his room to say the sixth fence on a particular day. Next day from his room till the seventh post. So a gradual increase of only half a meter. Then the next day, eighth fence. So like this, one fence post at a time, with so much of patience that dog Duke would facilitate his master to walk, because it was a very tedious process. The author explains in great detail that the dog would go and stand ahead with his leash tight. So it becomes like a support for the paralyzed man, Charles Hooper, and his right foot is able to move forward, and then he drags his left foot till his right foot. This is one step. So then again the dog would go forward and wait, and then again Charles Hooper would take one right foot forward and drag his left foot ahead. So like this, one step, half meter, they used to increase day by day. Now when this kept happening for a long period of time, one day on the 4th of March, he was able to reach his company's local clinic, the office there. And he reached there, and of course his colleagues were very happy. And he said that I will take up my job back, I will sit at my desk, but only 1 hour in a day. But the effort that Charles Hooper and Duke have put to be able to reach the office, nobody in office was able to tell him that it is not possible for him to get his old job back, because his old job is of a zone sales manager. He's a sales manager who cannot walk. So it was very difficult for them to say that you cannot do this job. So anyway, he used to come there, spend 1 hour, and then when the office people are thinking this, that he is coming only 1 hour and doing what should we do, what should we tell him, little did they know that Charles Hooper had already set a target for himself. March 1st, he had set a target to be able to work for the entire day, and he met the target. 4th of Jan he had reached his office, that was 1 hour in a day. By 1st of March he started working for the entire day. Now when he did that, his office also appreciated his hard work and promoted him to the regional manager of 4 states. He asked for a dictating machine and he was given that, because now he is unable to write. And this kept happening. He kind of got back to his work, so life started settling down. Now they had a shift of residence in the year 1956. They shifted their residence, they went to a new home. And by now Charles Hooper is fairly able to walk. So those new neighbors never understood why this dog has so much of attitude in him, because they would see this man walking with this dog every day, but a dog who has a lot of attitude, as if he owns the master. Because a general man, an average man who walks with his dog, it's the master who owns the dog. But here Charles Hooper and Duke, their walk was such, it's as if the dog owned the master. This is what the new neighbors used to feel, because they did not know the history of what has transpired up till now. Now one day when they were having a get together in their house, exactly on the 12th of October 1957, They are sitting with their friends chatting and they heard a screech of brakes outside. And instinctively, immediately, the master, Charles Hooper, started looking for his dog. Where is Duke? And rightly enough, when they peeped out of the window, they saw that the dog had met with an accident. And there the author says this Marcy, who did not approve of the Doberman Pinscher and would have preferred a Pomeranian, she refused to take help from anybody else, because when the neighbors said, "Shall we help you carry the dog to take him to the vet?" she said, "Call up the vet, let them know that I am coming." She picked up Duke, put him in the car and took him to the animal hospital. There he was given medication so that his pain can ease off, and by the next morning at 11 a.m. the dog died. Now this was a big jolt to Charles Hooper, but he says his tribute to his dog is that he should continue walking, and that's what he did. He continued walking, he kept going to his office, and the office, as a tribute to Duke, promoted Charles Hooper again to the assistant national sales manager. So that's a very big post. So this is the saga of a person who, from being hale-hearty, meets with an accident, get paralyzed, then again with the help of his dog, we think dogs are so senseless, but with the help of his dog, gets back to his feet, regains his life. The dog walks out of his life, but he continues his endeavor to prosper in life. So somewhere the author is giving out a message over here that obstacles are going to come. We are going to face trouble in our life. But all our education, all our learning, all our family support is of any worth only if we know how to cope with our loss. To cope with our loss and regain our life. So with a lot of courage, bravery, spirituality, parents, family, friends, we have to go on. Whatever be the circumstances, we have to come to terms with the circumstances, accept it and move on.